Medieval Dynasty has finally officially released. After a year of being in early access, the game has been let loose to run free on the Steam store and build upon the massive following it grew during the last 12 months. So, what's new? What's changed, and is it even worth buying now, 1 year later? On the 17th of September 2020, Medieval Dynasty released into early access, more or less out of nowhere. With such little hype train or build-up, still the game came out to some pretty decent fanfare from historical and medieval fans alike. The developer, Render Cube, were new on the scene, apart from a monster racing game back in 2018. Yeah, you heard me. I mean, who doesn't love a bit of Monster League, am I right? Right, that's enough of that. But after their first game, they came under the umbrella of Top Lit's Production, a publishing company that let them start creating a new game in the already established Dynasty series. Yes, whilst Medieval Dynasty is a standalone game that you can play without having even touched the others, technically there is sort of a loose, long-running Dynasty franchise of games by Top Lit's Productions that basically does what Medieval Dynasty does but replicate it through different professions. For example, you've got Farmers Dynasty, Lumberjack Dynasty, and soon to be Wild West Dynasty. All the games have had pretty good responses and all in all a decent positive array of titles. But upon early access release, Medieval Dynasty got attention from so many people on the YouTube platform and with it a vast amount of new fans. You see, people have been waiting for something like this for a while. It released at quite a clever time. The medieval gaming community were waiting for some new blood in the genre. I mean, you've got your Kingdom Come Deliverances, your Mountain Blades and Crusader Kings, the top dogs when it comes to big budget medieval franchises. But apart from that, it's been pretty lackluster. I mean, Mordhau was years ago now. Chivalry 2 was still on the horizon, but after the release of Bannerlord, I think many people were wanting a different direction in the genre, and this is what Medieval Dynasty offered. I think everyone was used to being a lord, a knight, or a general in an army, following an invasion across multiple countries, taking out faction after faction for the quest for glory. Even games like Kingdom Come, that started and put you in the shoes of a nobody at the beginning, had you climbing the ranks, joining armies and training to fight in massive battles and sieges, but life wasn't really like that. Medieval Dynasty said no to all of this. It was a risky but a bold statement, saying that a medieval game didn't have to be set in the midst of a massive war just to be fun. And it turns out they were right. Living the life of a peasant, working the land, growing relationships and professions was something different and something that seemed to connect with a lot of people. Starting from a lone house in the forest to a bustling village, knowing everyone that worked under and with you, finding a profession that fits you and advancing your own small corner of this pre-modern world. This new direction gave it an almost relaxing, therapeutic feel, mixed with, granted, moments of danger like hunting and wild animals, yet focused on the mundane in a beautiful landscape. Spawning you in, you head down to a village. It's bustling with people and animals introducing you to this very normal life. Finding a man that goes by the name of Unigost, he introduces himself to the world around you. Following on from pleasantries, you must find a footing in the world yourself. Chop your first tree, lay your first trap and catch your first food. The game takes you through the basics of building a home, cultivating farms and foraging for resources. Unigost, the creepy old man from the village, tasks you to go and make somewhat of a name for yourself in the world, heading to different villages, settlements to help out, chopping down trees to build palisades to defend helpless people against wolves, or even going out and hunting down those beasts yourself. There is a decent variety to get you going at the start of the game to introduce you to the setting that you've been thrust into. Despite, however, this easy intro, this is where my first criticisms come in. The story is, well, little more than tutorials to the different mechanics. After you learn everything, you kind of start to feel they're becoming a bit repetitive and a little bit grindy. I mean, I get chopping down trees can be fun for 2 minutes to introduce you to that mechanic, but I've got the hang of it now. Do I really need to do it for another half an hour more before I can advance? A lot of these storyline missions seem to be fetch quests and finding or just talking to different characters, with very little in terms of an overlaying string of story between them. However, this was never the intention of the game, and I mean, after all, it's supposed to be a normal medieval life, right? You're not going to be getting these incredibly exciting storylines and adventures because that's not really what life was like. The main focus is the open world sandbox, making your own story and heading into the wilderness to start anew. Once you've you've set up your first place to settle, you can start exploring and finding other people that you can introduce to your colony, for the lack of a better term. Look, no, stop. Do not try and kidnap them and force them to work for you. That's not going to end well. Instead, build up relations, increase their willingness, and eventually they may come with you. Build a house of their own, start their own profession. As you build and grow, you can have NPCs do all the hard graft for you, whether it's farming, fishing, blacksmithing, weaving, and even anything else that you can't be bothered to get your hands dirty with on your own. All in all, the gameplay is, well, fine. That may seem like a bit of a lackluster answer for many people, but it kind of just is that. The game is fun, and it is relaxing as I mentioned, but it's not for everybody. There's no fast-paced action, no massive battles or intense storylines. It's just you slowly building up a world of your own. Some may love it, but some may be put off by that. Unfortunately, many of the controls, as you're progressing, you'll find feel like they were made for controller play and not a mouse and keyboard. They're a little bit clunky, and that at first did put me off. But if you can get over that hurdle and enjoy the slow-paced, therapeutic medieval journey, I do think there is a lot of content here for you. As mentioned, the game initially released into early access, and even then I did feel like the price tag matched the amount of content it had. But it's been over a year since that, and the developers have led up to this full release out of early access with some great additions. I mean, things like beekeeping, introducing a new profession, plenty of new recipes to keep your villagers happy with a variety of food, and of course being able to find a wife, having children and create, well, your own dynasty. Additionally, we now have bandits coming, which is going to add so much more to the game, whether it's defending your village or my hope is being able to arm your settlers and fight the scoundrels together. In addition, we've got herbalists creating your own medicines and potions in order to help you through the more dangerous elements of the game. With the addition of taverns, now you have a communal place that you can interact and socialize with your villagers. This is imperative to growing a bond with them and growing your settlement. So content's good. The game has been fully released to some positive reactions, but what is there for the future? Is it worth buying in now? Well, I think it's finally great to see a development team that is a smaller size actually spend some time sticking and advancing to a game's content, even though it hasn't become the biggest title in the world. Yeah, granted, Medieval Dynasty did do well, but updates have just stayed strong and fast and consistent over the last 12 months, and already on this full release date, at the same time, they released a roadmap talking about what's next, what to expect soon after their exit from early access. As mentioned, I think bandits are going to be a big part of the next phase of the game, introducing some of the faster-paced action stuff that whilst Medieval Dynasty didn't focus on, I think can only improve the style of gameplay and bring in players that perhaps wanted something a bit more exciting. We also are set to get a third-person mode very soon. Not sure how important this is for the majority of fans, and I'm not sure I'm ever really going to use this. I mean, third person doesn't really work for me in games unless it's, you know, the initial intention for that game. It's like playing Mordhau in third person. It works, but it feels weird. But hey, I know a lot of people do use third person in a game like Mordhau, so I might just be the minority in this case. We're also set to get more quests and storylines revolving around the namesake, the dynasty portion of the game, teaching your heir to grow, creating a bond with them, and letting them become strong enough to lead in your absence. And finally, something that I predicted from the early release videos back in the day, a console version. So the title of this video is whether the game is any good, right? I guess I should probably answer that, and all in all, yeah, it is good. It's not great, but it's good. If you want a slower paced medieval peasant simulator, then this is perfect for you. Nothing else does it quite like it. Perhaps that's because it's not the most mainstream playstyle. It's a little bit risky for them to go with something more mundane, but I think in this case, they've done a great job and it works for most. Even if you do like fast-paced action, you may still find something in this when it comes to the newer edition of Bandit Camps, but don't expect a sprawling storyline, a Kingdom Come deliverance of sorts. But hey, for the money that you're paying, it looks like the developers aren't going to be slowing down anytime soon, so there's way more to come in Medieval Dynasty. But let me know what you think. Did you play on early access or did you pick it up on its official release last week? Please let me know down in the comments below. But leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it, leave a dislike if you didn't. But until then, I will see you in the next one.